Tabula rasa, the title, is derived from the early Roman use of wax tablets for writing, which could then be refreshed by heating and melting the wax surface for a new application. This relates to the ability to broadcast multiple instances of imagery on a monitor, simply by replacing the input data. This piece is a slight deviation from the usual presentation medium for these paintings, which are typically large format inkjet prints on the aqueous canvas. When displaying my paintings and other digitally created works, I sometimes, as in this instance, remove the component frame. The first objective in doing this is an effort to remove any excessive light sources, such as power and standby lights, speakers and remote-controlled lighting. Secondly, this removes any branding which starts to let the television monitor, which is such a familiar thing, start to exist as a new unique object. In doing this, it creates a rougher edge for the contained imagery, and the television begins to bear a closer resemblance to the exposed frame of a stretched canvas. In addition to this interpretation, I have found that once the frames are removed, the monitors are often referred to as light boxes, which, being LED monitors, is a very accurate observation. The image being broadcast on the monitor is part of an ongoing series which I have been involved with for a little over 3 years now. These paintings came from a desire to inch away from the purely digital forms which I had been involved in for some years now and experiment with real paint. Having not used paint in any non-utilitarian manner since my early teenage years, I was a bit of a loss as how to proceed. Should I buy an easel? Should the canvas be stretched, gessoed? How do I stand, hold a brush, hold a palette, etc.? What I came up with was something that felt quite comfortable to me. I sat at my computer and began painting on the glass of my digital scanner. At first, I treated the scanner paintings somewhat like modern times. I would paint, scan, do a pressing, rescan, lather, rinse, repeat, wait for laughter. After some time, I would begin to alter the image by applying linseed oil or mineral spirits on the scanner bed to loosen up colors and recompose elements within the image. The images were working, but having scanned the underside of a piece of glass, they lacked the dimension I was looking for, and after having printed a few out, the images looked similar to the digital paintings I was previously working with. I then had a bit of a breakthrough and decided to mount an additional scanner on top of the painted scanner and run the devices simultaneously. This procedure yields 2 images of the painting. The first provides a view from the underside of the glass, wherein the paint is flattened. The second image reveals the brushwork and paint texture as scanned from the surface. Both views of the painting were then altered, painted and collaged in Photoshop. I should note that the decision to place the monitor on an painting easel came out of an instance of utility while attending an artist's residency. Not knowing what sort of studio to request, I chose a painting studio, and upon my arrival with a suitcase packed with a desktop computer and various electronics, I was presented with an open studio space, a chair and an easel. That particular instance helped to interject a little bit of humor into this presentation of a digital painting. Too expensive, these 4 works were created specifically for this show. My first consideration was to include printed examples of the scanner painting series, but I was conflicted in doing this, as it would have referenced less about my digital painting practice and would have focused on the flexibility surrounding the reproduction involved with digital art, any size, anywhere, and for any purpose. While I am not opposed to acknowledging and frequently indulging in the ease of recreation within my chosen medium, I was trying to create something unique for this particular space in addition to working within the foregrounds were procured from an image search for science fiction matte paintings. The backgrounds are digital paintings of my own creation. In addition to being a fan of science fiction in literature and film, I felt that using these particular matte paintings would complement some of the futurist architecture present throughout Stamford. While walking through town the day after installing, I was pleased to see a storefront on street at the base of the towers, in which several prints of architectural renderings of futurism in Stamford were being displayed. I was later informed that this display was organized by Terry. In these pieces, the found imagery remains, for the most part, unaffected and free of any digital manipulation. My own digital paintings, which have been reorganized to fit into the backgrounds, become the primary recipient of collage. Working in this manner is a move backward from my trajectory over the past decade, and in doing so become more reminiscent of my earlier digital video works, wherein still frames of footage, depicting a real space, with various keyed out and digital animations inserted in the empty space. The title is taken from a description of a matte painting and speaks to its purpose as utility in painting. I have been recontextualizing and embellishing found media for quite some time now. Even at an early age, I can remember my brother and I working on cassette recorders, capturing audio of films off of the television. Later we would memorize the films and reenact them while recording ourselves. In later years, I obtained a video cassette recorder purchased by my father from a reconditioned item sale at a Sears and Roebuck store. It had this odd feature on it which was called audio dub. This would allow the user to play content while simultaneously recording a new audio track over the footage. I would redub films with my own interpretations of the scripted audio. This led to the eventual access to video recording equipment and eventually to the desktop computer. I have never regarded the use of technology in my artistic practice differently than the use of any tools familiar. You've finished. Before you go, tweet share that you finished this book.